Hey guys, Taylor here. And if you guys hear any quiet humming or vibrating going on in the background, that's my new humidifier I got for Easter, and it's so awesome. It changes colors and plus it hydrates my room, so nothing wrong with that. Today is kind of more of a serious video. It's even more serious than my oversensory meltdown video. Today I decided to share my story not only for World Autism Awareness Day, but also for World Autism Awareness Month. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my story with you guys. But before I do, I just want to ask you all to please watch this video and hear my story with an open heart and an open mind. For the first 18 months of my life, I was a pretty normal kid. I developed normally. I was trying to reach the milestones on time. But around 18 months, I got my MMR vaccines, and it was shortly after that my mom began noticing something wasn't right. And I think a little bit before I got the MMR vaccine, she could already tell that something really wasn't right. And then on my second birthday, my mom comes in with the cake, with the candles lit, and everyone's singing happy birthday, you know? And as soon as everyone starts singing, and as soon as those two single candles were in my face, I screamed bloody murder and I crawled out of the room as fast as I could. Then my mom and dad enter my room and they give me a gift. And then I just threw it from where I was at all the way across the room and it hits the wall. Over the next 10 months, they clearly saw that something was wrong. I wasn't walking yet. I wasn't talking yet. I was still in diapers. And I was having a hard time living in my home. And after those 10 months of just watching me just degress, my mom and dad initially decided to go ahead and take me to see a doctor. Just to get to the bottom line, like, is this a phase or is this something bigger than a phase? So my mom decides to take me to see a doctor one day in June of 1998. And I'm not sure if my brother and sister were there or not. I really don't remember. I think they were being watched by a babysitter. And I remember my dad being at work. He was working 3 jobs at this point. So the doctor gives my mom this questionnaire. You know, is she walking? Is she talking? Is she potty trained? Can she do this? Can she do that? What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? How does she react? How does she progress? You know, stuff like that. That typical doctors would ask any parent when their child might be going through a phase. Before this day, over the past 10 months, my mom just thought it was this phase and it will be over in an instant. But that day we were at that doctor's office, we found out it was something much more serious than a phase. Something that I'm going to have to deal with and live with for the rest of my life. On that day, in June of 1998, 2 months prior to my 3rd birthday, my mom received the diagnosis that would make any parent's heart sink to their stomach. The doctor diagnosed me with not only ADD and ADHD, but he also diagnosed me with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, or just simply autism. When I was diagnosed, it was at a time where autism was so incredibly rare. 1 in every 10,000 children received that diagnosis at the time I was diagnosed. So initially, the doctor said that I would never talk, I would never walk, I would remain in diapers for the rest of my life, and he suggested to my mother that I be placed in an institution where I would be professionally cared for. It was at that moment my mother stood up, looked at that doctor straight in the eye, and said, "No, I'm not going to be placing my daughter somewhere where she wouldn't know who will be taking care of her the next day. I will continue to raise her, teach her, support her, and love her. I don't care how she turns out. I'll never stop loving her, and I will never give up on my child." So then my dad comes home that night and my mom tells him about the diagnosis, and like my mom, he's very confused. He wants to know what it is and how or why this could have happened. So they decided to do some research. They did a ton of research. They tried getting answers, but they went nowhere. So my mom and dad made the clever decision to go ahead and just watch me. That way I am able to teach them about autism just by watching me and observing me every single day. And just by watching how I act and how I live every single day, My mom and dad learned so much more about autism than they would have had if they would have done more research. I come from a Christian background. I am a born-again, non-denominational Christian. And they told my family about the diagnosis, and my family did the only thing that they could do, and that was praying to God. Every single night, my mom and dad would say, God, heal our baby girl. Help her get better. Help her conquer this. They would continue to pray for me every single night, even when I was in elementary school where the bullying was at its height. Kids looked at me weird. They called me weirdo, sicko. They called me stupid. They even called me retarded. And the first time I was called retarded, I was in 4th grade. I was bullied from kindergarten all the way to the last semester of my senior year. That's 11 and a half years of bullying, judgment, and ridicule that I had to go through as a kid just because I was autistic and I was mentally disabled. But what the bullies didn't know, and what the doubters didn't know, was that with every single prayer that was said to help me get at least a little bit better at controlling my autism, I was getting stronger. And I was accomplishing big things, even at a young age. You guys remember earlier in the video where I said that the doctor said that I would never be able to walk, talk, stay in diapers, and then I have to spend the rest of my life in an institution? I took my first steps a few weeks after that appointment, and at 4 years old, I became potty trained, and at 4 years old, I said my first words, which were, believe it or not, I love you, mommy. I film almost every single YouTube video that I film in this room. This is my bedroom. And this is in my home, where I'm currently living with my mom and dad and doing just fine. They said I would never graduate high school. I'm going to show you guys a little something. Be right back. This is the graduation cap I wore the day I accepted my diploma, June 1st, 2013. And this certificate right here, this is my high school diploma. I graduated high school on June 1st, 2013. Near the end of 10th grade, we had an IEP meeting, but there was someone who helps control the IEP system and how it works. Prior to this meeting, she sat down with me for a few minutes and she just wanted to kind of see how I'm doing with the IEP and whether I needed it or not. That IEP meeting near the end of 10th grade, they took me off the IEP and put me under section 504, which is kind of a down level to an IEP. I got accepted into college. I got accepted into college with flying colors. And during my time in college, I've made the president's list twice, the dean's list once, and the honors list twice because of my grades. And for those of you who have told me throughout my life that I would never get over my candle fear, guess what? I got over it! As a teenager, I've asked myself and my mother this question very, very frequently. Why do I have autism? Why did God give me autism if all that's going to happen is me sitting here just getting picked on for the rest of my life? My mom always said, God gave you autism for a reason. I never understood that answer until last year in January, where I was given an assignment to do a research paper and an oral presentation on a topic of my choosing. I chose autism because I figured, you know what? I have some experience with autism. I think I could kind of provide some insight with my own experience and as well as the research. So I'm looking at both 100% papers and all the comments that the teacher wrote saying that I've made an impact on the class. And that was when I felt God saying to me, Taylor, this is why. This is why I gave you autism, to help educate the world about autism so that they become more aware of people like you. And so that they'll open their hearts with acceptance and understanding. I've been doing a blog for a year now. I always leave a link to the blog down in my description box for all my YouTube videos. And I'll go ahead and leave the link to the blog down below in this one, just so you guys can check it out. And this year in January, I've started the YouTube videos where I post videos about my insight and about my experiences and my advice sometimes. And I also did some public speaking. I spoke last year at a church owned by someone who my dad knows very, very well. And it was such a wonderful experience, and I hope someday soon I get to speak again. Needless to say, I have accomplished some big things in my life. However, my autism is still with me because I do still have autism-related issues. I still have a hard time interpreting if someone is being serious or if they're being funny or if they're just joking around. I still laugh at things that aren't supposed to be funny, but they just are. I still am a very, very picky eater because of the textures of the food that are being placed inside my mouth. And you know what? On almost a regular basis, I have oversensory meltdowns. My journey with autism is not over. I still have a lot of roadblocks and things I have yet to overcome and accomplish. Autism will remain in my body and in my brain for the rest of my life. And for the first time in almost 18 years since I was diagnosed, I accept it. I accept the fact that I will remain an autistic person for the rest of my life. But how I'm feeling now is so much more of a difference than how I was feeling about it 5, 10, 15, almost 18 years ago. And that difference is I'm not looking at that as a bad thing. Autism is actually a very good thing. The fact that I am helping parents understand their children, that I'm helping teachers understand their students better, the feeling I get out of knowing that is remarkable. The impact that I've made on people who are understanding them better just because I am doing what I'm doing right now, that is priceless. I am so honored, blessed, and privileged, and humbled God gave me autism because I'm helping change the world. I knew I was gonna cry. This is such a tough thing to post every year because I am reminded of the progress that I've made and the things I was able to accomplish and the fact that I've already proven so many of my doubters wrong and so many of those doctors wrong. And that's all God. I was only 5% of the success that I've had so far. The other 95% is God. Am I still going to struggle living in this world? Absolutely. Am I still going to have autism-related issues as far as my mental well-being is concerned? Yeah, of course I will. But I'm not going to give up. I love you guys so much, and thank you for watching. God bless.